Google DeepMind has just unveiled a robot that can play ping pong against humans, and it can even win some matches. At first, the concept didn't blow my mind, because 3 years back, I'd watched Amran's ping pong robot at CES. I was completely baffled when I realized that this robot wasn't just playing, it actually won 45% of the matches. This one is truly worth sharing with you guys, so without any further delay, let's start the show. Google DeepMind, the AI giant known for some seriously mind-blowing tech, has taken things up a notch by training a robot to play ping pong against real humans. And let me tell you, this might be one of the biggest robotics updates of 2024 because the level of dexterity they've achieved with this robot is insane. But they didn't just teach this bot to casually smack the ball around. They went full throttle and turned it into a legit table tennis competitor. And guess what? This robot's mechanical arm is actually good enough to beat beginner and some intermediate-level human players. They had it go up against people with different skill levels in 29 games, and it won 13 of them. That's almost half the matches, which is pretty wild for a robot. All right, let me break down for you how they pulled this off. According to a rather unprofessional, jaundice-inducing official release, DeepMind just used a two-step process to train this robot. First, they put the bot through its paces in a computer simulation, teaching it all the essential moves like returning serves, hitting forehand topspins, and nailing backhand shots. Once the basics were down, they took what the robot learned in the sim and fine-tuned it with real-world action. So every time it played, it kept learning and getting better. Here's where things get even cooler. This robot keeps an eye on the ball using a pair of cameras that catch everything in real time. Plus, it tracks down human movements with a motion capture system using LEDs on the paddle to monitor every swing. All that data then gets fed into the simulation for more training, creating this awesome feedback loop where the bot just keeps refining its game. As per the release, the motivation behind this research was to match human-level thought and physical mobility. The paper emphasizes that even with all the progress in robotics, matching human-level accuracy, speed, and adaptability is still a huge challenge. Ping pong's a game that requires mastering both complex skills and years of physical training. Unlike purely strategic games like chess or Go, where a smart move can win you the game, table tennis actually comes down to execution, even if your strategy isn't perfect. That's why it's such a valuable benchmark for pushing the limits of robotics. High-speed motion, real-time decision-making, and system designs all come into play when a robot competes directly against humans. DeepMind claims that before the release of this robot, no company had fully tackled the challenge of having a robot play a complete competitive sport against human players, which is why they think it's a huge leap. Watching it play in the original release is simply mind-boggling, but just like any other AI system, it does have some shortcomings. The robot's still got a few hiccups. If you hit the ball super fast, send it way up high, or keep it low, the bot might miss. And when it comes to spin, which is a tactic advanced players use to mess up the opponent's brain, it's still a bit of a struggle. The robot can't directly measure spin yet, so that's a bit of a weak spot. One thing that concerned me is the fact that the robot can't serve the ball. So to make the matches work, they had to tweak the rules a bit. Sure, there's a limitation, but hey, it's just the beginning. The wild part? People at DeepMind weren't actually sure if this bot would win any matches, but not only did it win, it actually managed to outmaneuver some pretty decent players. Panagiotis, the guy running this show, said the team was totally blown away by how well it performed, especially against people who hadn't played before, and they didn't expect it to do this well. This research is a pretty big deal for the future of robotics. The ultimate goal is to create robots that can handle useful tasks in real environment, like your home or a warehouse, and do them safely and skillfully. This table tennis bot is just one example of how robots could eventually learn to work around us, with us, and maybe even help us out in ways we hadn't thought of yet. Experts like Carl Pinto at NYU are saying this is a really exciting step forward. Sure, the robot isn't a world champion or anything, but it's got the basic down, and that's huge. The potential for improvement is massive, and who knows? We might see this kind of tech popping up in all sorts of robots before we know it. But let's not get carried away yet. There's still a long road ahead before robots start dominating sports or anything like that. Training a robot in a simulated environment to handle all the unpredictable stuff that happens in the real world is insanely tough. There's so many variables, like a gust of of wind or even a bit of dust on the table that can throw things off. Chris Walty, a big name in robotics, makes a good point. Without realistic simulations, there's always going to be a limit to how good these robots can get. To cater for these limitations, DeepMind's team is working on new tech involving better predictive AI models that could help the robot anticipate where the ball is going and better algorithms to avoid collisions. This will help the robot overcome some of its current limitations and get better at the game. And here's the part that really gets me. The human players actually enjoyed playing against the robot. Even the more advanced players who managed to beat it said they had fun and thought the robot could be a great practice partner. Imagine having a robot you could play with any time to sharpen up your skills. One of the guys in the study even said he'd love to have the robot as a training buddy. Do let me know what you think of this robot in the comments section down below. I made another video explaining the current state of consciousness and its linkage with the current level of AI. It's popping up on your screen. Click now and I'll catch you there in a second.